All right, there's Julie. I'm trying to see okay, there we are. Hold on, I'm trying to figure, this is my first time doing this fancy thing. Okay, why can't I see okay, now I see Julie.
Hi.
Really big on my computer. Okay, hold on here. And so you're gonna be like the main person. Let me see something here. This is my first time doing something like, again, this fancy. So we have Sarah's here and Molly's here. We're gonna go a gallery view. Let's see, speaker view. It's not what I want. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna view it like this, and it's gonna probably record like this. So if you don't want your face on the thing, then I think that there's probably, oh wait, here we go, hold on. I'm gonna figure it out right now. There we go. Okay, now I'm the main. Okay, what time is it? 6:59. So I'm gonna give just like another minute or so. But I am recording this, so anyone who can't be here tonight at 7, I'll repost it when it's over. Hopefully it works, and we'll do it that way. But the main thing for tonight is for me just to kind of go over a little bit of the information, kind of give you, I've already posted a lot of videos that kind of give you a broad overview of kind of what's going on. So I really wanted to talk a little bit more about kind of just what I want you doing every day of the week, every day of the program, and kind of narrow your focus so you're not maybe feeling so overwhelmed by, again, what am I supposed to eat? What am I going to eat? So overwhelmed by maybe the tracking. So I wanted to kind of take tonight to help you kind of narrow your focus and just know, all right, these are the things that I'm after every single day, especially the rest of this week, especially as we go in through week 1, and then we can kind of fine tune things as we go. Or sometimes maybe even at week 3, you might be feeling like, you know what, I have a super, super busy week at work. And this is, tracking this week is going to be really hard for me, but I don't want to feel like I'm quote unquote failing. What can I do? Right. And then I want to help you figure out how we can, like, again, narrow the focus and stick to really, really, really what's important and kind of what we're after with the program. So first, I want to thank all of you guys for trusting me in this program over the next 7 weeks to be your kind of kick in the booty, your jump start, your start to 2019. And I always like to say that my main goal for everybody, of course, is to lose some inches. Of course, is to maybe be putting on a different size of jean, if that is what one of your main goals is, but to really get some results off the program. But another main goal I have for everybody is at the end of this, that they just really feel, I say this all the time, that you're a much better picker, that you just feel more in control of your food choices. You enter the kitchen and you already kind of know what you're gonna have that's healthy. And it's just a part of your day is making these better choices. Of course, all of us are human. We're all going to have days where we don't make the best choices, but that consistently we are making the better choices because it's part of our daily routine and part of our daily habits. And so I feel like the faster way with the strategies and the tools that we use, like the macro management, the macro counting, that all of that helps us get there. So while some of this might feel like, oh my gosh, this tracking can be so tedious, I really want you to think about it as a going to school, right? It's like your 7-week course of learning how your different food choices affect your macros. And then you just come away with so much more awareness and so much more, again, just awareness over what you are doing on a daily, day-to-day basis so that you're making just better choices. I do have a few notes here so that I stay on track, because I think this Zoom call only gives me 40 minutes. And then I definitely want to make sure I leave some time for some question and answer. So if I'm looking down, it's just to make sure that I stay on track. And then you also might hear some noise because not all of my family is home yet. So, and the dog will bark and whatnot. So again, thank you guys so much. And so far, such great engagement in the program. So far, such a great engagement in the Facebook group. And that is what I love to see. The more you give me, the more I can give you. I will try to check in with you if I notice that you're not really posting that much, maybe kind of give you a little like, hey, you still with us? But the more that you engage in the group, again, the more that I can help you, the more that you're going to stay motivated, the more that we can kind of help each other. And so the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. And I'm sure you can ask any of the veterans, which this is a super cool group because we do have such a great little group of veterans in the group, but you can ask any of them. They were not 100%. They worked the program to the best of their abilities. Maybe they were 80% on point, 80% on point with tracking, maybe 80% on point with the workouts, but they still got the results. So this isn't about being perfect and doing every day perfectly and getting those macros perfectly dialed in. What you are after is progress over perfection. So I'm going to keep reminding you guys that every single day, which is why posts, and every week I am asking you to post your wins because we want to see, hey, my win was I didn't really nail low carb days this week. Maybe I had a blowout day on a Friday, but you know what? I made it to the gym all 4 times and I tracked every day of the week, even though I didn't do that great on my low carb days, right? Those are all still wins because they're going to keep us pointed in the right direction. So again, progress over perfection. So really quick, what are we going to be doing every day? What are we focused on every single day of the program? Number one thing we're focused on is getting in that fast, practicing our fasting, practicing the intermittent fasting. We've covered this a couple times already in prep week. It's in the comprehensive guide. We are after that 16-8, 16-hour fasted, 8 hours eating. But let me also remind you that it's not so much about the eating window. The 8 hours is not what we're focused on. We're focused on the 16 hours. So let's say it is a day where you've planned to go 16-8 and life happened and you ended up going 16-10, right? Which I know is 26 hours, but you get what I'm saying. So you maybe ate 2 hours over what your planned 8-hour window was. No big deal. You just now are going to count 16 hours-ish from the time you stopped eating. So always adjustable. And in fact, we have someone in this group who's like almost completely turned the concept upside down. She eats much earlier. So she's kind of doing more of a 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon to a 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. There was a couple people who were posting in the group. I wanted to make sure that they could still get on. Onto the call. Anyhow, so 16-8, it's about the 16, not necessarily about the 8 window. What can you have, right? 1 second. Okay, what can you have? So again, briefly, gold standard, 0 calories. So we're talking all the water that you want. Let's focus on electrolyte water. That'll be super helpful. Hold on. Sorry. Somebody's here, and so he's going crazy. Okay, so gold standard, 0 calories. We're talking water. I would love for you to wake up in the morning and maybe even while that coffee is brewing. This is a really habit that I'm trying to really focus on myself through the month. But try to take in maybe 16, 20 ounces of water even before you have that first cup of coffee, okay? So electrolyte water is going to be really important. Smart Water is electrolyte water. Life Water is electrolyte water. So electrolyte water, getting that potassium, that magnesium, the sodium, those minerals are going to really help you get through that fasting. So all the water, black coffee, unsweetened herbal teas, 0 calories. All right. So just kind of focus on the 0 calories. That's gold standard. Silver medal. So like the next rung would be anything 40 calories or under during that entire fasted time. So if you have a favorite almond milk or a favorite creamer and you can make it and you have to have it. And if it makes you stick to your fasting better and it's under 40 calories, that's okay. That's not going to do much in regards to an insulin response. That's going to make you kind of get out of that fasted state. So for under 40 calories or under is silver medal. And then kind of like bronze medal, or even a topic called assisted fasting or fat fasting. And that's where a concept of like bulletproof coffee would come in. Could be number 3 in week 1, because I don't want to overload you guys with too much. Well, you could do this and maybe you could do that. In week 1, I will give you guys a video about bulletproof coffee and kind of give you the option whether you would want to try it or not. It might be a good idea of something to use on a low carb day because we're not super concerned with where our fats end up on a low carb day. They can be higher than a regular day. So enough about that. Another thing that I think was in my kit or like recommended items is something called BCAAs. These are branch chain amino acids, and they come in a powder form and you shake them up in your water. These could be used and could be beneficial if you are somebody who works out in the morning in that fasted state and you're finding yourself feeling a little low blood sugar. Maybe it's a little hard to kind of find all that energy, kind of like you feel like you want something to eat. The BCAAs might get you over that hump, especially if you're a morning worker outer. If you're not really exercising in the morning in that fasted state, I don't really know how necessary they are, but it is something to look into. So if you have more questions about BCAAs, I'd be happy to answer them. One thing that you do need to do is make sure that there's not any artificial sweeteners in there. So that about covers it for fasting. Every day we are aiming for that 16-hour fast. Hey, if you go an hour or 2 more, great, no big deal. If there's a day where maybe you are just not feeling it and you are feeling hungry and you've made it to 12, 13 hours, eat. That is fine too. A lot of podcasts and people will say, even if you can get yourself to that 12, that is definitely helping the body kind of regulate that blood sugar, get that insulin back down, and get into a little bit of a fasted state, a digestive rest. But our goal is 16 hours. So the next thing that you're going to be focused on every day. So number 1, we've got our fasting. Number 2, I want you tracking. So I have a couple of tips and a couple things I want to talk about when it comes to tracking. Okay. First, track the good, the bad, and the ugly. Post the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you, like me last night, went ahead and had 6 graham crackers, just log them, right? It's also, look at it as a data collecting, right? Look at it as information gathering, not, oh my God, I just ate 6 graham crackers. I just totally ruined my day. Get them in there. Just take a look at what it did to your macros. Take a look at how much sugar was in there. Take a look at how maybe it pushed you over carbohydrates, or maybe it really didn't. Or you know what? I really liked the graham crackers dipped in peanut butter, but I'm only going to have 2 now instead of 6, right? So the good, the bad, the ugly, track it. No exercise. Don't have it linked to your Apple Watch or record your exercise. All that's going to do is then push more calories back into your MyFitnessPal count, it is already calculated our comfortable, easy to do deficit based on the goals that we gave it. We've already told it that we're lightly active or we're active. What I like to use those exercise calories for is margin of error buffer, okay? We are not going to be able to track everything exactly perfectly right, grams and weighing and all that kind of stuff. So what the exercise calories do is it gives you that buffer of your margin of error when it comes to tracking. So no need to track those exercise calories. Another thing I like to say is don't stress about being super precise with tracking. When you can be precise. If you are at home making your lunch or making your super quick dinner and you're able to maybe weigh your chicken or use a measuring spoon to pull out the amount of rice that you're going to have and track it that way, great, do that. But if you're at a restaurant and you order, like here, I'll give you guys exactly what I order when I go to Angelina's. I order the Salinas Valley tri-tip salad. Some days I have tri-tip, sometimes I substitute chicken. Then I always ask for roasted veggies on top. Sometimes they come on the side. And then I ask for the ranch and the barbecue sauce on the side. Everything else, the bacon, the avocado, I keep on there. Sometimes I bring my own Trader Joe's Sriracha Ranch dressing. Sometimes I don't. I use my fork. I kind of drizzle the ranch dressing. I drizzle the barbecue sauce over there. I always make sure to leave about a half of the side container full. And that's how I've known I probably have had a tablespoon and a half of each. So when I get home, that's how I log it. I look at the salad. There's probably 4 to 6 ounces of tri-tip on there. I'm going to call it 5. I just pick a vegetable. I don't bother saying, oh, there was 8 pieces of carrots in there. I say, okay, it was predominantly carrots and zucchini. So maybe I'm going to say I had 1/4 a cup of carrots and 1/4 a cup of zucchini. And I had 2 cups of, you get the idea. And I probably had 2 ounces of avocado. I don't get super crazy about, oh my God, how much exactly was that? Because here's what I'm going to say. Knowing mostly is better than not knowing at all. Okay. A lot of us who've not been tracking at all have just gone through eating without knowing anything that we're doing. So knowing mostly is better than not knowing at all. And what tracking also does is tracking is going to really help you zero in and focus on, I'm going to kind of say like our snacky foods or our off-plan foods, the 6 graham crackers that I had, right? So that is where tracking will be beneficial, but I don't want you to get caught up in, oh my God, I didn't do it perfectly, or it's not all the way right. And then kind of throw in the towel of tracking. Just, pick up where you left off. If you didn't get your break fast meal in, just figure it out. Just think about it, right? Another thing that you can do sometimes if you just can't get to your phone and track, as long as you write it down, even on a piece of paper, you're going to get a visual of what you ate, right? I keep going back to this example. Even if I just wrote down yesterday, I had 6 graham crackers, I'm going to probably be able to circle that and say, that probably wasn't the best choice on a low carb day, right? Use Google, use YouTube. There are so many people out there who have posted, which is why I've never done one, because there's a jillion people who've already done it. Tutorials out there that show you how to put in a recipe, tutorials out there to how to save a meal, how to right, if you eat the same salad just about every single day or most of the time for lunch, how to make that look like a meal so you're just plopping it in there and not having to redo every ingredient, right? So use Google, use YouTube as a way to kind of find some other tricks and tips about MyFitnessPal. Again, the more you use it, the better you'll get. But we are tracking, we're fasting, and we're tracking. Okay, so the next thing that we're doing every day is we're following our food cycle, okay? So what I wanna talk about our food cycle is this. So our food cycle would also be, I'm gonna kind of lump this together with our macronutrients or tracking our macros. So our food cycle and our macros kind of go hand in hand. So one thing I wanna say is it's never going to be perfect, right? You are never going to be exactly at your goals. That is so hard to do, like almost virtually impossible, not to discourage you. So what I want you to look at those your macro goals, so that, that one little column on your nutrient page that says goal, I want you to view those as your guidelines, okay? This is our reference point. I also heard somewhere where somebody kind of called them like bumpers on a bowling alley, right? So when your kids were little and they wanted to bowl, and you would put the bumpers up so the ball stayed on the lane and didn't always go into the gutter. Great, a little analogy there, that you're using these macronutrients as your bumpers on the bowling alley, okay? So let's talk about, if there are guidelines, what we're really after. Okay, number one thing, every single day, I want you to look at your protein goal. And your goal is to get as close as you can to that protein goal every single day. If you're 20 or 30 grams over, not a big deal. If you're 10 to 15 grams under, not a big deal. All right. If you're going to go over on any macronutrient, I would love for it to be protein. Every day, your number one goal is to get as close to that protein as possible. Again, 10 or 15 under, no big deal. 20 or 30 over, no big deal. There is such a thing as too much protein. I don't really like to talk about it because I don't want people to think like, oh no, it's going to turn into sugar if I eat too much, because that's really for more like very, very sedentary people. And that's like if you're eating a lot of protein. And I'm sure a lot of us are going to find that eating that much protein kind of gets hard a little bit because protein's so satisfying that we get full. But that's our goal, hitting that protein every single day. So then your second goal, or your second kind of question or thing you're going to look at, are your carbohydrates, okay? Number one, if it's a low carb day, we are less than 50 grams net carbs. Total carbs minus fiber, 50 net carbs, okay? Then your number two question would be, or category would be, is it a regular macro day? And if it's a regular macro day, you have all the way up to your MyFitnessPal recommendation, okay? So like for me, MyFitnessPal recommendation is 178, I think, like 172. So if it's a regular day, I can eat all the way up to 172 grams of carbohydrates. Now, I am naturally more of a lower carb. I'm not low carb, but I just tend to pick things that are lesser carb, right? So I might, on a regular day, only get to about 115, 120. No big deal. No big deal. I definitely bumped up from a low carb day. I don't want us hanging out at 50 net all week. I don't want us hanging out at 50, 80 all week. I really would like you to aim, at least on these regular days, to get up to 100 grams. That's showing me that you're consciously adding carbs back into your day. You're consciously adding in a serving or two of fruit. You're consciously adding in some brown rice or a sweet potato. Maybe you had some oatmeal to break your fast. But you have all the way up to your MyFitnessPal recommendation. Okay, so first and foremost, we're working on the protein. Second, we're deciding if we're low carb or we are a regular carb day. And then third, every day we are at or under our overall calorie goal. Okay, so that little number on the right, we are at or under our overall calorie goal. I'm going to briefly mention here the concept of not eating enough or under eating, or someone had asked the question that, they were under on their calories, and kind of really how important getting all that in, that they felt full. So here's what I'm going to say. Again, we're using the macros as our guidelines. So let's say it's a low carb day. You got like maybe 10 grams over on your protein. You were spot on your low carb, which you left a lot of calories on the table. And then maybe you just got to your fat goal, or maybe you were like 10 grams under on fat. So you're going to probably be, because you left a lot of those carbohydrate calories on the table, I mean, you're looking at probably 400 to 500, maybe 300 calories under your main goal. Not that big of a deal. So I have a couple of things I like to say about this. First thing I like to say is that a lot of those kind of lower calorie days, but that's not our concept. Deprivation and low calorie, that's not what we're after. But sometimes naturally it happens based on the fact that we are eating more protein and more fats and more healthier fats. And we're also too probably eating less processed foods. Whole foods are just more filling in general. They're more fiber based, all of the above. So some of these lower days that you might encounter can also to offset the reality that we're all human, and probably come Friday or Saturday, maybe we don't track as well as we have been tracking. And on those days that we maybe take the day off of tracking, we're probably eating more than that number. Okay. So those days can sometimes offset the reality of life. Now, that's not necessarily how I want you to go about every day of like, oh, I'm off, I'm going to do this so I can offset a bang out weekend. I'm just saying it'll tend to even itself out. Okay. The other thing I want to say about that is a couple questions I want you to ask yourself. I want you eating till you're about 80% full. I don't want us feeling like super stuffed or like, oh my God, I still have 20 grams of protein I need to eat. Let me have another chicken breast. No, if you are full and satisfied, we're all good. Even if you are a few calories or a few hundred calories under overall. Satisfied. I don't want you to feel like you've been like sitting on your hands all day, like, oh my God, what do I eat? What do I eat? What do I eat? If that's how you're feeling and you're hungry at the end of the day, we need to chat about other things that we can have to make you feel more full and satisfied. And then that's the thing I like to say too, is a lot of us are coming from maybe not eating as much protein as we should be, not as many healthy fats as we should be. And so those are a more filling food. So they are going to make you feel more full. So check in with yourself like, hey, am I really hungry right now? Yeah. Okay, then eat. If you are eating and like, oh, I am, I'm full, I'm satisfied. Stop eating. Don't worry about that extra 10 grams of protein or whatnot. Okay, so really quick, let me go over some low carb day kind of tips and tricks. First, I will say, because these can tend to be the trickiest, on a low carb day, I really encourage you to pre-plan your macronutrients. Get them into MyFitnessPal the night before or the morning of. At least your main meals that you plan to break your fast with, and then again, maybe your dinner. So you can see where you are at. A lot of times you can add things in like a cup of raspberries when maybe you've been saying like, oh, no fruit on a low carb day. If you get it in there and kind of plan around it. I have been known to easily add in like a quarter cup of black beans to maybe my taco salad that I'm going to have on my low carb night. Because of the fiber in the beans, I can totally make it work. So as long as you can pre-plan for that stuff, that's going to really be the game changer for you, making sure you hit those low carb days effectively. Proteins and fats will, and they should be higher on low carb days. Because like I just illustrated, you're leaving a ton of carb calories on the table, right? So if you want to make sure you are feeling full and satisfied, borrow those carb calories and put them towards your fats and proteins. Again, we're focused on fit fats. So avocado, on a low carb day, I will eat an entire avocado. Avocado oil, coconut oil, nuts and seeds, all great ways to get those healthy fats in. Again, on a low carb day, I definitely will snack on nuts. Whereas like maybe on a regular day, maybe I'm going to save those because they are a little bit higher in fat, because I do love avocado. And I'm going to, put all my fats to the avocado instead of both. On a low carb day, I can for sure get away with both. So things that you want to avoid, I'm not going to say all fruit, but might want to save fruit for our regular days, just because they tend to be higher in carbohydrates. An apple carries 26 grams of carbs. You're going to want to stay away from starchier vegetables. You're going to want to stay away from your sweet potato, your brown rice, your quinoa. Save those for our regular days. You're going to want to, again, double veggies and protein. That's your go-to when it comes to our low carb days. A veggie and a salad. Protein, a salad and your protein over cauliflower rice. You get the idea. Another thing that's a good thing to do with your low carb days is to kind of in your mind already have ideas of how you're going to snack. I don't really plan for a snack. I tend to like to eat like 3 big meals or 2 big meals. 2 big meals. So, okay, one second. It keeps telling me it's giving me unlimited minutes. It's not going to shut me off. Oh, you guys might be here for a while. Anyhow, I like to have some snacks planned. So almonds, again, nuts are a great low carb snack. Another great thing to use on low carb days, use your leftover protein from the night before as your snack. So like, let's say I did like a turkey chili or something like that, right? Or turkey tacos. I will have a serving of turkey tacos as a snack. So sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes we think, oh, a snack is fruit or a snack is crackers. A snack can be anything. So especially too, getting that extra protein in. Another thing that I love to utilize as a snack on a low carb day, again, hard boiled eggs. I will take one of those tuna packets. That's about 80 calories, 18 grams of protein, minimal fat. Put that in there. I'll put a hard-boiled egg with the tuna. I'll put a half of an avocado with the tuna, some everything but the bagel seasoning, and then maybe a small drizzle of sriracha ranch. And that's a great little go-to smush around like bowl of low-carb goodness. So kind of have those planned in your head. Maybe brainstorm different ways that you can snack on a low-carb day, because those are going to be the times that kind of get you, because, right, what do we like to do when we snack? We like to go in the pantry. So kind of have those things already planned out for yourself. Regular macro days. These are fabulous fun days because our menu choices really open up. But what I really want you to think about here is I want you to consciously add the carbs back in. What's going to happen is that a lot of us are going to start to get a little bit of carb phobia. And we're going to start to kind of eat the way we do on low carb days. And we're not going to be adding those healthy carbohydrates back in. So I want you to consciously think about how you add them in. Again, always have a piece of fruit, a serving or 2 of fruit on those days. Get those nutrients, get those antioxidants in. Again, choose to have a serving of brown rice with your dinner now. I like to kind of do this. What I do on regular days is I always like to have a fruit. I love apples and almond butter. But then I usually pick my lunch as my main meal that I really carb load, so to speak. And I kind of, definitely have my serving of grainier foods. And then my dinner will typically be still of low carb variety, because I'm going to use up those carbs for some of the snacky stuff like popcorn, maybe some pretzels, things like that on these regular days. That's kind of how you can manipulate that whole foods with wiggle room. So that's just one tactic I like to do, is kind of still approach my dinner from a low carb perspective and then fill in those carbs with some of my snacky foods, but definitely get that fruit in. And again, my grains, starchier vegetables. Okay, kind of back to that concept from the video that I posted this morning. What will I eat? So again, we are focused on whole foods with wiggle room. What I want you to know too is I had a conversation with one of our ladies this morning that I don't want you to stress out about the little details, about the I used to do this a ton when I was trying to do Whole30 and I was doing paleo. I would get so caught up in like sauces and like, should I use that sauce? Or, oh, let me go find a recipe for this sauce and make it super clean. And that's just exhausting and super time consuming. We want to see, like, from a broad perspective, are we eating better? Are we eating more whole foods? So like a great example from my dinner Monday night was I used the Taylor Farm stir fry kits. So I used 3 bags of the stir fry. We're a family of 5. But instead of like stressing out about the sauce, I just put 1 package in there, right? It gave it the flavor I needed, grounding in sauce, and like that little bit spread across all of our dinner is really not that big of a deal, right? So I don't want you to get caught up on these little itty bitty details of whole food nutrition. We know what it looks like, right? Veggies, protein, where you can, you know, swap some things out. If you have a salad dressing, make it on Sundays, but don't get too caught up in those little things. There's another girl in our group who's a veteran, and I think somebody needs to mute themselves. You know, I'm gonna mute her anyway. Who's a veteran, and she uses maybe she doesn't anymore, but she did the first round. Those like Organi or like the Premier Protein kind of pre-made shakes. No, those aren't a whole food. I mean, it's I'm not gonna call it definitely a processed food, but it's not a whole food. But you know what? It's a way that she breaks her fast, quick and efficient. It holds her over, and she's getting the protein in. She's getting some extra fiber. It works. So that's what I mean by I don't want you to get caught up in the little itty bitty details, because you're going to then feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. Broad strokes, whole food nutrition with some wiggle room. Keep it simple, right? Think about what your protein is going to be. Add those veggies in. I kind of did that in my last video, gave you some quick ideas of how you can really keep it simple. I'm going to give you some sample meal plans. I am not a recipe developer. These are all recipes that I have found on the internet from the people who do that stuff, and I've used them. I've maybe tweaked them. I give you ideas of like, oh, you could substitute this for that. You know, when I made this, I did this. If I'm going to make this, I'm going to make sure I do this instead. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of that guidance. And then I'm going to also give you your kind of meal prep plan. So if you wanted to do any of it in advance, here are the things that I would do. I have a video coming out for you guys in the group, I believe on Friday, that give you my meal prep tips. I want you to think of meal prep as a gift you give yourself, okay? It is not the end-all be-all. I think I've said this before, it does not have to look like a Pinterest page in order for it to be meal prep. Meal prep can be at the basic level, just writing it down, writing down what you are going to eat. And that can actually even go a long way in helping you take the workout in the moment. If you are in the moment trying to make the decision of what you're going to eat, good chance you're not going to make the right decision. But if you already have it laid out for you that this is what I'm going to eat, when you're in the moment needing to make that decision, you're going to be more apt to make the better decision, okay? So when I think about meal prep, I just think of it in bite-sized pieces. I wish I had all the time to have these perfectly prepped containers, but I don't. And the times that I have tried that, realistically, a lot of it gets thrown away. So what I like to do is I like to always have some type of prepped protein in my refrigerator, and I like to have some type of easily prepped or already prepped, ready to go veggie, whether that's a base. Again, I plug the Taylor Farm salads, not because my husband works there, but because I really do love them. So, you know, I always have those on hand. I talk a lot about having the Nourish bowls on hand. So we will work together to find ways to have, again, those few things ready to go for you in your refrigerator. Sometimes I will do some things to prep my dinner ahead of time. Sometimes I don't. But I really want you to think about keeping it simple. And I give you, again, my kind of meal prep tips. That's coming on Friday of some of the things that I do. But again, as I mentioned, my goal is to equip and empower you with figuring out how you like to eat. Maybe you hate cauliflower rice, right? But even though I'm going to suggest it a million times, but let's find a way, or what you do like, that can kind of be a substitute for cauliflower rice. So finding how, or a better example would be like, you know, you don't like having tacos, Taco Tuesday or turkey tacos, so you don't have to. I had a really good example of another girl in one of my rounds back in the spring. I gave them, you know, all these different meal plans or the sample meal plan. And I kind of like, I'm not going to say goulashy meals, but I'm not afraid of my food to touch. But she has all men in her house. And so she cooks very simply. It's meat, starch, vegetable, and everything's kind of just like on the plate, right? And so she's like, do I have to make these recipes? I'm like, no, you do you. If you have to cook that way for your family, let's make it work, right? So that's kind of what I'm after. I want you guys to be empowered to create your own meal plans based on our guidelines, which is our macros. But I will be giving you a ton of support and resources along the way. And let's also too help each other, right? Because I get inspiration from the things that you guys decide to use as a lunch on a low carb day, or I get inspiration from things that you do for dinner, or maybe every Sunday, Julie preps a big pan of, roasted bell peppers and onions and zucchini. And I want to know exactly how she does that, because that looks amazing and something that, I could do. So that's how we're all going to stick together. So really quick, exercise. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything on any of my little highlighted stuff here, but exercise. So not the end all be all. The main thing of this program is really dialing in our nutrition. But let me tell you something, if you can get that movement in, you're only going to move the needle quicker for yourself. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. But again, that exercise is going to give you a little bit of buffer and a little bit of wiggle room. If I were to tell you your priorities when it comes to exercise, I would love to get you giving me at least 2 of the weight training days in. Lifting weights is going to help you build muscle. The more muscle you have, the more robust your metabolism is. So that is why I really like you guys to focus on those weight days and really try to get those weight training days in. If you are brand new to exercise and all of it seems really foreign, reach out to me and we can kind of talk through the workouts, or what maybe you can do right now. And maybe it's not the workouts. Maybe it's just a good walk. So if the exercise piece is feeling really overwhelming, reach out to me and we can kind of work together and figure that out. I'm a firm believer in, while yes, I love the Faster Way workouts, and you'll find me doing them on Saturdays. Even when I'm teaching my classes, I pull them up, and sometimes we'll use them as a guideline of what I want to do in my class or different exercises I want to get into my class. So I love, love, love the workouts and find them to be super user-friendly, and feel like that they have, with lots of my clients, have helped them to create their new habit of exercise. So I really encourage you, if you haven't yet, look them up, go in there, poke around, click on the names of the exercises, watch some of the videos, and kind of see what they're all about. But they are very effective and doable. One of our boot campers in here is a I wouldn't say a new mom, but she's a new mom of 2. And she just recently went back to work and reported to me that the last 2 days she has used the workouts, and she is very happy with the fact that they were easy to do, quick, effective, and efficient. She felt like she got a workout in. So that is great. But what I also want to say is, if you are doing something that you love, and it is movement and it is exercise, I don't know, maybe it's a bar class, maybe it's a cycle class or something that you love to do, and it falls on a day that's not, do it. I don't want you giving up what you love in the way of exercise just to only focus on the Faster Way workouts. I do, though, want us to really be getting some weight training in. That's super important when we're trying to change our body composition. The other thing I want to say is, trust the process. Really try to stay off that scale, because the scale really does not show the true measurement of what's going on. I really think that you could probably have a lot of the veterans attest to that maybe while the scale only moved a few pounds, when they pulled that tape measure out, when they took those pictures and they saw what their figure looked like after, it was like, whoa. So we're building muscle, and and that's not going to necessarily make the scale move. But that's not telling us, the scale not moving isn't telling us that we're not losing fat. So that's what's important. So stay off the scale, trust the process, reach out to me if you're feeling discouraged or confused, or you need a little extra motivation or some extra help. I'd be happy to get on the phone with you. I want you to succeed in the program. I can never do this one. And I even had good notes. I can never do this one shorter than 40 minutes. Okay, really quick. Anyone on right now have any questions? And I think you just put them up in the chat feature. Okay, there we go. See, I will say hi. So that way you guys can see that there's, see, there. So if you have any questions, type them in there. So let's see, tomorrow with our posting, what do I focus on tomorrow? I think it was a good one that I give you. Tomorrow I talk about setting your environment up for success. And that's really important. So this weekend, so read that post, watch my video, and give yourself a game plan if you have not already, to just carve out an hour of time and clean out your pantry, clean out your refrigerator. Get rid of the trigger foods, the things that are going to tempt you. I fall victim to this all the time. I will say to myself, oh, the girls will like it. I won't have any. Nope. I end up eating it all. So don't fool yourself. Our little willpower muscle is only so strong. So if you have to, exercise it a little bit more, don't put yourself in that situation. Okay. How much do we need to worry about fats? I eat a lot of healthy fat foods, almonds, avocado, coconut. Great. How close should we watch that? Okay. So here's what I'm going to say is all of those sources are fabulous. If you go a little bit over in your fat and it's coming from all those places, fabulous. That fat is not going to make us fat. But here's what I will say, and I'm saying this in such a way that I don't want to discourage you from going to these beautifully healthy fats because they're fabulous. Fat carries the most amount of calories per gram. So that's in another video coming up where I show you where all these numbers are coming from. So per gram of protein is 4 calories. Per gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. Per gram of fat is 9 calories. So fat is just more calorie dense. So if our third goal is to stay at or under our overall calorie goal, you just have to manage that. That's it. So if eating another half of avocado is going to put you 13 grams over, I'm making this up, 13 grams over in fat, but it's going to keep you under your calories, fine. No, or at or under, no big deal. And when I say at or under, I'm talking if you go over 100 calories, that's not a big deal. Okay. So do you see the difference there? So that is where I talk about in this video, this kind of concept of budget borrowing from the different macros, but you have to do it in such a way that you're not spending all your budget on fat or all your budget on protein or all your budget on carbs. But if you are, again, like I said, 13 grams over on all these beautiful healthy fats, but you are at or under your calories, no big deal. And that's where you can kind of play with the carbohydrates. What's the goal on regular macro days? Just to eat clean, stay within our allotted calories and percentages. Good question. Regular macro days. Again, number one, every day, protein. Get as close to that protein goal as you can. Number two, we think carbs. So if we're sitting in a regular macro day, what we think about carbs on those days are, we get all the way up to our MyFitnessPal recommendation. And then the third thing we think about is at or under our calorie goals. So in the instance, kind of referring back to the question above about the healthy fats, let's say it is a regular macro day and I hit my protein goal. So we're just going to say that one was right at it. Okay. And I ate 120 grams of carbohydrates, but my goal, my threshold is, I'm going to say 180, and I ate 120. So I left 60 carb calories on the table for free. And then, so maybe I went like 10 grams over in fat, no big deal, because I borrowed a few of those carb calories. So that's kind of our goal with our regular macro days. Protein always. Now on this regular carb day, we're not focused on less than 50. We're focused on all the way up to our MyFitnessPal goal. And then we're managing our overall intake. Does that make sense? The other video I do on, I think I gave it to you Maybe I give that one to you tomorrow. I can't remember. It's kind of long, like all of my videos, but I show you the math behind all this, and it tends to help it make a little bit more sense when you're managing your macros. So I hope that answered your question. Any other questions? If you are watching this later and you were not able to make it live, please feel free to put your questions in the comments where I post this video, and you'll be able to ask questions there. I changed the weight on MyFitnessPal from when I first started. My goal is to still lose 10 pounds. Is it okay to keep my weekly goal at 1.5 per week? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say to that, Julie. If you changed your weight, that probably just, I don't know what's going on there, decreased your calories, your overall calories, which would have decreased your macronutrients. That's not a huge deal, but you did probably develop some muscle, so your metabolism's working for you a little bit better. Here's what I'm going to say. I would actually like you to take that and put that at 1 pound per week, not 1.5. Especially, you had a great habit, and hopefully it's still there, of getting that exercise in and lifting those weights. And so there is a concept of, you want to make sure that you're fueling your body, and that you're not, I guess, under eating. There's a lot of research out there that says a lot of times we need to eat more to then actually lose. So another thing I want you to think about too is, I would like you to put that at 1 pound per week. See where your calories, your overall calories look like. And then see, oh, you know what? That makes me feel a little bit better, because this is not about deprivation, right? So my only concern would be at 1.5, especially too, if you've also changed your weight, that they're looking a little low, and that's not fun. We don't want to be deprived. So maybe shoot me a private message and let me know what your calories look like at 1.5 per week, and then what they look like at 1. But I'm kind of like thinking that you might feel a little better if you have it at 1, especially if you're really going to be getting back to those workouts or keeping them up. Any other? Sounds good. Perfect. I mean, and also to like let you guys know, I mean, I sit comfortably at between like 16 and 1,800 calories is what MyFitnessPal gives me. I'm 5'8", but I have a lot of lean muscle. But I feel good there. I can maintain my weight really beautifully there. And that's what we're after. We don't want this to feel like, oh God, I'm starving, or I'm uncomfortable, I'm hungry, or at the end of the day, like, ugh, I already ate all 1,400 calories. Crap. That's not what we want. So we want to kind of, what MyFitnessPal puts you at right now. Julie is a returning client. Just stick with that, and then let's see how we feel. I promise you, especially as we are watching those macros and getting that protein and those healthy fats in, we are going to be feeling good. Okay, I am going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope some of this maybe cleared up any confusion, and everything makes a little bit more sense, but we will be ready to rock on Monday with really diving in with like our first official low carb day. If you would like to keep posting your nutrient pages in our group, in the thread, make sure you put them in the comments. I will definitely this week be chiming in, and I might even say to you things like, if it was next week, you did really great. Or if it was next week, I would want you to add in X. Or if it was next week, I'd want you to make sure you got more protein in, right? Because this week, remember, we're just focused on practicing and getting all of our ducks in a row. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great Wednesday night, and I will see you on the intrawebs. Bye.